Dan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. It's been an interesting 48 hours to say the least. Not something I expected to be writing about for sure.
How big a topic is this within the locker room, or are you able to
Well,
gauge that?
well, I mean, I'll say first. I landed to the Adam LaRoche news. I was coming back from Chicago when it initially happened. So the first chance I actually had to do anything was get player reaction on the game the day of Tuesday. And, it was a strange atmosphere a little bit just because we go in and players had been a little bit hesitant to talk about this. They wanted Adam to come out with his side first and talk about it. I guess earlier in the day, he had told the two reporters that he had briefly spoken to that he was going to come back and say something, but they were all kind of understood his decision. They respected it, but at the same time, you could tell that they wanted him to be on board. There's been a good mood in the clubhouse this spring where guys are thinking this team is going to be better than a lot of people have said, and you can tell they're fired up to have him as part of it. And all of a sudden, they weren't going to have him anymore. And it's been interesting. Yesterday we talked to Adam Eaton post game, and he said that it's been weird because there's been no issue with the players from last year for sure. Last year's team loved Drake LaRoche, and I know that's been the same. And when Adam LaRoche was with the Washington Nationals, there's a few stories written about it, how he's called the 26th man, and he's been a popular kid with the players. They love how he acts. I mean, one of my favorite memories was last year we were in Detroit, and he's sitting in the corner with two veteran players, and they're all at their stalls, and he's holding court with them, and he basically gets up, pats one of the guys on the knees, and said, "All right, I gotta go shag." And there's moments like that, just where you're going, "This is a 13-year-old kid. I can't even believe it the way he acts." So I think that it's been a little jarring to them because the guys from last year loved him so much, but
what changed, Dan? Something had to change.
the only thing I can gather, and again, we're still kind of waiting to hear Adam's side of it. It's potentially that there's some new guys in there. I mean, this is a new clubhouse, and I know that the White Sox have kind of tried to change the vibe themselves. We've seen it in spring training, the way they've run their drills this year. They've tried to be more aggressive early in camp and get guys on the same page. And you've got 7 or 8 new guys in there, just who should make the 25-man alone, let alone the other guys that are in camp. And it's possible that's where it's come from. I mean, there's been a little bit of hinting that might be it. I know that players banded together the other day. Both Kenny Williams talked about that. Adam Eaton talked about it. It was a pretty tense atmosphere during this morning meeting when Adam LaRoche announced his retirement. And Adam Eaton said even that they didn't go out for stretch afterwards. And so obviously it was a tough morning on Tuesday. But the only thing I can gather is that potentially some of the new guys kind of wonder what's going on. Not everybody knows about how this is going, and seeing some opinions just across the board from everyone, you can understand this is a major league clubhouse, and maybe not everyone wants to be on their GPG rated sides at all times, and that's the only thing I can figure that's changed in this because there was no reason last year based off what we saw for this to be an issue, and players have talked about that how much they loved him. So it's definitely it leads me to believe that's what it is.
It just feels like he would be grandfathered in, that he's got his own locker there. So somebody enabled him to have his own locker. Did Adam just take over a locker for his son, or did management know about this, that he had his own locker?
From what? Okay, we've checked with Kenny Williams. Nothing was written into the contract. Now I've seen some stuff on social media, some scuttlebutt that would suggest there was an agreement. Again, we need to hear from Adam LaRoche on this, but it's pretty well known that Drake has been around, and yeah, there's just no way a locker is handed over. I know that people have asked why this wasn't an issue. Well, it wasn't an issue because there was no behavioral issues, and Kenny Williams even kind of said that yesterday. This isn't about the current young man. They love him. They know who he is. this is more about setting precedent for the future. And there's a good point to be made there. I mean, if 25 guys wanted to bring their kids in, and I would say Drake is in there probably somewhere around 75% of the time, even on the road trips, stuff like that.
Does he go to school?
He, from what I understand, he is, I think, homeschooled. He attends school part of the time, but a lot of it's homeschooling, and so and Adam's been quoted as saying he thinks that his son would learn a lot of great life lessons from just being around these guys. So he's there quite a bit, and I do get that where the White Sox are saying, what if 25 guys' kids were old enough to do this, and all of a sudden we have 25 guys with 25 kids on the road. But at the same time, obviously, this is something where there's more to it because, you know, he had his own clubhouse stall on the road, at home. He's been there most of the time. So it's definitely interesting. And the timing of it was just a little strange just because we're in the middle of spring training. Anybody
spoken to LaRoche?
Two reporters talked to him briefly that morning. He said he was going to come back and talk some more. He didn't, and then we talked to the team yesterday after some reporters away from, and I'm guessing people who talked to his camp. He hasn't directly addressed it. But, you know, he's supposed to be taking a day or two to kind of mull this over, and told the reporters at camp he would be back later in the week to kind of discuss it.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just a knee-jerk reaction. You're protecting your son. He's been doing this, and as a father, you react that way. I wonder if he'll reconsider this and realize that he could still have the best of both worlds, be playing baseball, get $13 million, and his son still have access to the locker room and this lifestyle. He can have it all. He just can't have it on his terms.
That's the thing, and the White Sox have said they just don't want it 100% of the time. I think they want it to be somewhere. I think it'd be more preferable if it was about a third of the time. And again, you know, we need to hear more just on the details of what he thinks went into this agreement, if there was one or not. Again, contractually, there's nothing written in there, but I think that, yeah, I mean, there's still some wiggle room because his son can still be around the team quite a lot. It's just it might not be the way that it has been for, 3-4 years now. But they haven't said no, he can't be around. Again, they love him. I just think they're looking ahead and trying to set a precedent now. And I can see why they're trying to do it, just because this is a team that's lost 3 years in a row. And if they think that they're trying to eliminate potential distractions, I don't see this as a distraction at all. Just there's no way this.
Well, it is now. It's a distraction now. Whether they wanted to create one or not, they got one.
I mean, for sure.
I know you got a busy day, Dan. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Dan Hayes. He's the reporter for Comcast Sportsnet Chicago.